Okay, traders, welcome. Here we are, VTP Stage 2 online, technical Tuesday coaching call 198 for the 30th of June 2026. I hope you're all well. Hope you have had a good start to the week. Hope you are ready for a kind of interesting week ahead. As always, you're very welcome here. Just remember that you're always responsible for your own trading and investing decisions. And if you want a little bit more education, today's the last day of the end of Q2 special offer price for Stage 2 and Stage 3 courses. So if you want that, you can ping away that today. The bit.ly code is there, or the QR code, or just ping me, okay? All right, talking of whipping boys of a sort, let's look at sterling. I'm referring to sterling and not Mr. Starmer. Take your minds out of the gutter. All right, so what have we got here? Okay, sterling, cable, euro sterling, pound Aussie, pound Canadian, pound yen, pound Swiss franc, pound Kiwi, FTSE. Okay, so listen, we normally stay just on FX on the stage 2 calls, all right, but you know, I looked at this as coiling up. Okay, not exactly the most exciting of breakouts. You might say, well, you know, that was a bit of a bullish pin bar call. The bullish rejection kind of had us closed above the moving averages. Yeah, I wouldn't exactly say it's been, you know, lighting my fire, shall we say, but you know, you can see it has kind of ground its way a bit higher from that. The daily, as I said, we're above the averages on the daily. I suppose there are wicks to the downside you'd look at on that. Certainly for this morning, you know, you can see that's probably the response to maybe Iran stuff, but also the defense investment plan. Okay, they're going to be spending money on. There are quite a few big defense stocks in the FTSE 100. Okay, so that's why did nothing, and then we popped our way up on that. All right, that's the way I'd be looking at that playing its way out. Let me just bang. So yeah, cable. All right, as always. The daily trend has been down. I wouldn't exactly say it's been the most beautiful downtrend, has it? But it's worked its way down, got beneath the moving averages, stayed beneath the moving averages. You know, I think I talked about this maybe yesterday, is that I wondered if this was starting to maybe put in a little bit of a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders, where we're going to get a move down here. Okay, create, you know, an inverse head and shoulders, and then pump our way back up to 34. Okay, so yeah, watch that. All right, watch that. That would require an element of dollar weakness and sterling strength, and I'm not entirely convinced that either of them have that in them at the moment. All right, but we, as always, we wait and watch. Certainly that 4-hour chart. I mean, last week, this, you know, cable, there was moves here on the 4-hour cable, but it wasn't not exactly leaping off the page sort of for you to trade them. Okay, that was a kind of weak, and I suppose with some of the domestic shenanigans we have going on, that's not a surprise. The way I'd look at this in the 4-hour chart now is that, you know, we've kind of pumped above that 50. Are we going to come down here for a fiery cross, all right, off the 20 and the 50 before we work up? Could this be, you know, could this be a bang? Excuse my drawing, but you know, you get my sense. I mean, that would kind of I'd maybe want it a little bit further if it's going to create the kind of right hand shoulder of an inverse head and shoulders, right? But you get the idea of what we're looking at there at the moment. Let's see how that plays out over the next couple of sessions. Pound against yen. I mean, I think I said this yesterday. Is that I'm just going to draw these in now, because this is what my kind of this is what my view on pound yen is at the moment, is that, you know, it's the shittest diamond you've ever seen. Okay, megaphone. Okay, setup that some people might call, you know, it's the crappiest. But to me, that looks like it's coiling up, doesn't it? On the weekly chart, it is holding above the 20. All right, the 20 this year is held quite nicely as a support there. But to me, it looks like that's coiling up even more now. You know, are we going to get something from the Japanese, or is is the world waiting to see who the Messiah picks as his chancellor? All right, okay. I think if it's what's his name, Pat McFadden, you know, maybe even Streeting, then I think sterling strengthens. If it's what's your man, net zero nut job Miliband, then I think basically prices collapse, the sterling collapses. So maybe maybe that's what we're waiting. Maybe that's what we're waiting on for there. But that's certainly the price actions look how it looks like to me. Pound against Swiss franc. Pound against Swiss franc. Okay, you've heard me say this. We flushed the lows at the start of the war. The SNB said they were going to manipulate. They pushed. They were rather devalued the Swiss National Bank, and now the Swiss franc. Sorry, listen, we're above that 50 and we flipped it. When I see a flip, as in we close above it, we come back, flip it up, and that's what's happened. The daily chart, the daily chart, I was sort of talking about how this is kind of almost like double bull flags. All right, double bull flags there if you're a bull flag lover. That is also an inverse pin bar. That's that would give me more joy as a bull flag trader. But yeah, that is kind of Swiss weakness. I look at that more so than real sterling strength. Let's look at pound against. So we had pound against Kiwi and pound against CAD as a STAM focus, but I mean, that's the weekly chart. There have been some great swings there this year, but it is also not been the easiest to trade. And you know what? When it's not easy to trade, I don't trade it much as a swing trader. Don't make these things harder than they need to be. All right. Lots of people try and force trades or project onto the market. If it looks terrible and messy, well, then just leave it. Let it do its thing. Looking at this on the daily chart, okay, from the start of last month, all right, we started the month with that bullish engulfing candle, all right, bullish engulfing candle at, the kind of where we were at the kind of lows, really just kind of swept that low and off we went. We had a week of the chop there, didn't we? Just above, pivoting around the 200, above the 50, and then we've broken out and gone that way, okay? And that is that kind of pound strength, New Zealand dollar weakness. I think it's more the latter, but you can see for yourself that has been a nice run. But interestingly, we've had, bang, 20 support, 20 support, 20 support. Now we're going to flip. That's just going to be a south side farmer, all right? Is that what we're going to see with pound against New Zealand dollar there? Pound against Aussie, okay. Once again, it has been, here we go. Let me just draw these in, bang. You might see that I see that as a flag pattern. I see this more as a channel myself, all right. But people will disagree, all right, and that's fine. That's what makes a market, isn't it? That's no bother at all, But ultimately, what we saw is we've kind of reversed ourselves off that 50, all right? Where the 20s above the 50, prices above all the averages, and it's worked its way higher there, okay, against the pound, against the Aussie dollar. And once again, worked our way nicely, and now we're starting to kind of come off a little bit. I wonder if markets have, I wonder if Burnham's told the markets, or is market chums who's going to be chancellor. That would explain a lot. The other one was pound against Canadian dollar. That was one of the STAM focus, but I think we talked about this on the Canadian, looking at the Canadian profile. I saw that as coiling up. Yep, we're blowing out of it. The 4-hour chart for last week, I wouldn't exactly say that was a joyous one. If you're a swing trader, you've got price pivoting around the 50 period moving average, but it's broken, gone, hasn't it? There we are. So looks like it's going to sort of take a bit of a rest right in front of those GDP numbers in about 20 odd minutes. Finally, euro against sterling. Okay, so I've been banging on about this for weeks, about that kind of 86 to 86.20 zone there. Okay, that we've formed that descending triangle there. Every time we've come down to it, we've kind of worked our way off and bounced our way off it. If you notice, interestingly, we've got beneath it. Normally we've got beneath it and we've come back above it, and we couldn't. All right, we couldn't the other week. In fact, what happened was we tried, but then fell back beneath that area, right? And then we've got an inside bar pin bar there from yesterday. Okay, we're going out to the 4-hour chart. I mean, the price action is not exactly, it's not exactly sort of stuff you're getting joyous over. Okay, certainly, yesterday was kind of a little, but what I'd call as Blue Monday, all right, okay, it was just literally, where the weekly draw is, you're popping and you're working your way lower from that, okay, on an intraday basis. But as a swing, if you're trading a 4-hour chart, not exactly joyous, all right, and then, as I said, it's because we're in that kind of 86 to 86.20, 86.30, that kind of zone there. Just look at it, is it soaking up support before it pops, or is it soaking up support before it drops lower. I mean, if you're looking at all of these highs are lower, you'd probably be looking at that. The kind of direction is downwards, which would be indicating of euro weakness, sterling strength. All right, so keep an eye on that. All right, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's draw it to a close there. I hope you found that useful. I hope that gives you a little bit of help, a little bit of insight. As always, okay, make sure you're on top of your risk management. Make sure you're on top of the news flow and the order flow and understand the context and sentiment. Have a fabulous trading week, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care and trade well, everybody. Cheers.